Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. MC-Mura here. In today's video I wanted to share with you guys my top 5 favorite fighting game characters of all time. These are characters that I really like. I'd say actually even love, to be honest. And for you to like a character this much, it have to be a perfect marriage of their story or personality and gameplay, right? They have to click in all of the right ways. And because I don't want to fill this list with Street Fighter characters, let me first tell you who are my favorites from that series who didn't make this list. They would have to be Mika, Poison obviously, Ken, Guile and Kenny. And believe it or not, Balrog, because Balrog was my first main ever in the Street Fighter game, so I will always have a very soft spot for Balrog. But before I get into the list proper, there is one other honorable mention that I have to address, and that is Kitana from Mortal Kombat 9. I really enjoyed that game and I did enjoy playing Kitana a lot. It was the first time I tried to play a Mortal Kombat game seriously. She had a bunch of fun combos that were super rewarding to execute, and I really liked the whole Arabic fantasy kind of art direction that they had with the Edenian characters. She reminded me a lot of Jasmine from Aladdin. She had like this whole aura to her, which I found to be really appealing. So I enjoyed Kitana a lot from Mortal Kombat 9. Unfortunately, they took the character in a really lame direction in 10 and 11. So it was unfortunate and they kinda ruined what I liked about Kitana. But anyways, let's start now our list proper with number 5. My number 5 would have to be Superman from the first Injustice game. And Superman for me clicked all of the right boxes when it came to gameplay. First of all, I love characters who have strong mid-range presence, and he had that in spades thanks to his forward 2-3, which was honestly like the most broken string in fighting games history. He had really high damage output and I love it, to be honest. And obviously he had strong zoning game as well with his eye beam and eye laser zoning. It was very frustrating to play against, but it was fun to use. He had a lot of OTG potential with his dive bombs, had some mix-ups. He had everything that I liked in a character when it came to gameplay, and I really enjoyed how NRS translated the comic-y style of Superman fighting to actual gameplay, where he's like hovering on the ground and the way he's delivering punches, which is not like, it's not super technical, it's a lot of brute force, but I think for Superman that worked really well. The general clumsiness that is in a lot of the NRS animation, I think works really well for Superman in my opinion. It made him come across like a genuine Superman in a fighting game. Now, why did I specifically mention the Injustice 1 version of Superman? And that is simply because of the story. Injustice 1 still had the good version of Superman. I can't stand evil Superman and the whole fantasy of Superman being evil. But obviously Superman is like my favorite character, so it makes my blood boil, the whole fetish of trying to make Superman evil. So I really hated Superman in Injustice 2. It just made it difficult for me to enjoy the character. He's not even Superman anymore, which is quite disappointing. It was obvious to me that they hate Superman, and it does seem like DC in general just don't know what to do with this character. So anyways, at least for that time in Injustice 1, Superman was clearly had enough to be one of my favorites. And yup, number 4 for me would have to be JC from Tekken Tag 2. I will say that I've always had difficulties connecting with characters from the Tekken series, and I do think there are 2 reasons for that. The first one, and please don't crucify me for saying this, but I've always found most of the Tekken characters to be too grounded and lack charisma or personality. I think there are very few characters in Tekken who have like a ton of charisma, but for the most part, most of them are really boring. And the second thing is generally how the characters are designed. I feel like in Tekken, most of the characters fall into one of two categories: either male big guy bar fantasy characters like Brian, like Bruce, like the Mishimas, like Paul, big tough guys who's not afraid of anything and will fight even the mightiest of demons. That type of guy, the alpha male. Obviously Harada loves this type of characters and the game is full of them. And obviously the other type is just cute girls, and I'm not a big fan of either, to be honest. I do like the alpha male, but when there's an alpha male and not males, you can have 10 of them running around. So in Tekken, the only two characters that I've genuinely liked were Steve and King, and unfortunately both of them were really difficult, and back when I tried to play Tekken Tag 2, I was nowhere near qualified or able to actually play Steve or King. They're way too complicated for me. So I went for the next best thing, and I tried to pick up JC, and I really liked JC. Obviously her gameplay was really fun, and I love the idea of a female pro wrestler. Obviously this is like a personal favorite of mine, but I found that to be really appealing. She's not like the cutesy type of female either, and she's more of like the tough girl, which I actually like a lot. So I ended up playing JC and I ended up enjoying the character a lot. Unfortunately in Tekken 7 they brought Julia back, and they brought again the whole cutie girl with the whole blogger or YouTuber Twitch streamer kind of thing, which again for me was like a turn off. I know this is like, all of this might sound like some sort of bickering, but I really did enjoy Tekken Tag 2. I played it for like a year and a half. I did pick up other characters like Lars and Paul over time, but for me JC will still be my favorite Tekken character, and I really hope that Namco would bring her back at one point. JC, not Julia, please.
I swear I will tear you apart!
My number 3 would have to be Ivy from the Soul Calibur series, and in many ways she actually is the reason that I got into fighting games at the times that I did. I think I was like 16 back then, and I had just gotten Soul Calibur 4 for the Xbox 360, both a 16 years old boy and Ivy in the same sentence, and obviously I got completely hooked. Now, you also have to understand that I am someone who came up in the 90s, and back then the imagery of the powerful females was kind of very prevalent, especially in the late 90s. You had characters like Shayna from the WWF, you had like Xena, the warrior princess, and all of that sort of things. So I have always had a liking to the tough warrior princess kind of like character, and obviously Ivy struck at the perfect timing for me. And in many ways she also shaped what I like in a fighting game character. You'll see that most of the time I like to play characters who had strong neutral. I like to play one who had long range, high damage. They don't have to be the fastest. I don't really care about speed that much. Doesn't have to be ultra slow, but even if they are a little bit on the slower side, that doesn't bother me. And I also like my characters to have some sort of mix-ups, and Ivy had all of that. Honestly, in many ways, Ivy is like the perfect character for me when it comes to gameplay, and I still love playing Ivy to this day. She is a blast. Honestly, might be the most influential character in a fighting game when it comes to me at least, and certainly earned one of my favorite spots.
What am I fighting for?
Number 2 for me have got to be Zero from the Marvel vs. Capcom games, and obviously the Mega Man X series. And it might come off as a surprise to some of you because I don't talk a lot about Marvel vs. Capcom games, but I am such a big fan of the Mega Man X series, and I've always played a Mega Man character in the Marvel games. And honestly, when you really think about it, I'm someone again who grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, so back then the Mega Man X series was super popular and it was so good. I've played Mega Man X through Mega Man X5, like I even lost count. I had gotten like every collection. I love these games to death in all honesty, and it's kind of one of these disappointing things about Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. I know so many people got disappointed with that game, but for me it gave me all I've ever wanted. All I've ever wanted was to have X and Zero on the same team. That is honestly all I wanted, and nothing more. So for me, the roster for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite was amazing, and They added Sigma even later, and that was like the cherry on top. I do think this game is super underrated. Maybe again it's because of my bias, because I actually got what I wanted. But I do love that character so much, and I feel like I'm also one of the few people who even get like the references. Like, I understand that this is his boss theme from the Mega Man X2, and the Mega Man X theme is his theme from the very first stage of the very first game, like the bridge stage. I just love this game so much, and Zero is just a badass. He's like Robot Akuma. In terms of fighting game and in terms of the Marvel series in general, Zero was super strong. He is like the ultimate glass cannon. He had some of the most fun combos. I just love this character so much, and obviously he had the zonk mechanic where you had to always be holding button, and he helped me getting good with this mechanic a lot, which in turn helped me again with my number 1, but we will get into that in a moment. I love this character so much, and I really wish that we will get him into another fighting game, or give us Mega Man X9. Honestly, I would love to see Zero and X in any game, literally any game, man, and I will get it. Love these guys to this. I know this might come off as a sort of a cheat, but I honestly couldn't put one of these guys in front of the other, and my first will have to be Cody and ChunLi. And actually, in my favorite fighting game of all time, which is Street Fighter Cross Tekken, Cody and ChunLi were my team. These were the two characters that I played, and I had so much fun with these guys, so it kind of worked out in the end. And I love both of them for different reasons. I do think both of them fit what I like in a character. They have a strong neutral. ChunLi a little bit stronger than Cody. Cody has the higher damage. ChunLi usually doesn't do that much damage, but you trade in damage for strong neutral. They don't have like the best mobility ever. They're not all over the place, but they are really solid. And they both have fireballs, not the best fireballs, but they do have some sort of projectile options. So I really like both of these guys so much. And in terms of characters, like design and everything, like for me, both of these guys were love at first sight, in all honesty. For ChunLi, obviously, like I said, I grew up in the 90s. I used to have a Super Nintendo at my home. My friend would have a Sega. He would come over to play Street Fighter. I would go over to his place to play Mortal Kombat. And obviously, I was crushing, even as a kid, like as 4 or 5 years old, I was crushing hardcore on ChunLi, because who wouldn't? She is the queen of fighting games. And obviously, I do like her character a lot. Like I said, I like strong female leads, and ChunLi is obviously that in spades. And what can go wrong with ChunLi? Who doesn't love ChunLi, in all honesty? And Cody was kind of the same thing. This channel is called MC-Mura, right? And MC stands for Metro City. It's not like main character or anything. I've always loved the beat 'em up games and games like Final Fight, Streets of Rage, etc. So I had knowledge of Cody even before Street Fighter, or he made his Street Fighter debut. And I've always played Final Fight a lot, and I would actually play Cody in the Final Fight games. And I've always found his backstory to be completely amazing, right? The guy who's in prison, the hero who have gone wrong, he couldn't stop fighting until it gets him in trouble. I just love the Final Fight lore so much, and I love Cody so much, and obviously gameplay wise, Cody is almost the perfect version of what I like in a Street Fighter game. Now, maybe in some games I like him more than the others, but I will always play Cody and always play ChunLi. In any Street Fighter game, in any game that is going to come up next, I will always play Cody and I will always play ChunLi, and you will have my promise on that. And that is pretty much it for today's video. If you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like or a comment. Let me know who are your favorites. I will be leaving a link to the Patreon page, Discord page and Twitter page in the description below. Thank you very much for watching and stay safe.